Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. My name is Kathy Scott. He knows me. Thank you so much for coming out on a Friday night. And we really appreciate your attendance. And there's a lot of people here who have mats and know the magic of what we're talking about. And we really want to get this rolling so that those who want that information can really understand, because Wolfgang's story is amazing. So we're here to welcome everybody from all over the place. Wolfgang from Switzerland. Yeah. And he's brought his beautiful partner, Veronica. And stand up, Veronica. Now, she's not just beautiful. She works at the office and she does all the books for this company. So she's really smart, too. And she races cars with Wolfgang. He'll tell you all about it. And also we have Ali, our master distributor and president of Swiss Bionic Canada. And there's one person in the room who really needs a round of applause, and those who have mats and are in the business know this woman's name, and that's Sabine. Everybody give a round for Sabine. Yeah! Sabine! Gosh, we couldn't do this without Sabine, right? And just before I hand the stage over to Wolfgang, I just want to say thank you so much. You pay attention to me now.
I just want to say thank you so much.
Good.
That was the last word.
Because this is such a beautiful community that has been forming around the PEMF technology that this gentleman has been bringing forward on the globe for 20 years now. And it's been such a wonderful thing to see people get well. And people who have all kinds of things that we're not allowed to talk about necessarily except in a testimonial, but there are some amazing recoveries from all kinds of dis-ease on this planet that have come about simply from getting on the mat. And my husband Paul and I, we have really just been so happy to bring this forward, as many of the distributors here have. There's been some really good bringing forward of this technology. There's Adrian, a couple of, I can't remember your names, I'm sorry, Diane, and, no? Yes, you two. Mike and Cheryl, thank you so much. And Nisha, and there's all the gang from Powell River, Goldie and her friends, and we've been coming from all over the place and spreading this. Diana. Right, Diana. And Lindsay from Victoria. And who else came from somewhere else besides the Lower Mainland? Port Moody, Bowen Island, Gibsons. So we're all here to hear Calgary. Holy moly, Calgary. Thank you so much. That's amazing. So we're all here to hear Wolfgang. And so without any further ado, Wolfgang Jaksch.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. We have a big venue here tonight. So the auditorium is not 100% full. So I assume we have a very wealthy attendance today. At least every attendant bought 4 seats. That's good. And a warm welcome from behalf of myself. My name is Wolfgang. Kathy said it. I was listening to you, okay, from beginning to end. Don't worry. My job today is to speak, or tonight, and your job is to listen. The challenge tonight will be, I should finish my job before you should finish your job. I hope I can do that. And I know it's Friday evening. You know, in energy medicine, Friday evening is not the best date and time for a lecture, because usually on Friday evening we have a lot of delta and theta waves in our brain, which leads to getting sleepy and the attention, diminishes. However, I'm trying my best to keep it up. We will talk about electromagnetic fields today, so you will learn a little bit about PEMF. This is the electromagnetic comparison between men and women. Men are more like Bluetooth. He is connected to you when you are nearby, but searches for other devices when you are away. Whereas women are more like Wi-Fi, because she sees all available devices but connects to the strongest one. So you learned already a little bit about electromagnetic forces, and I hope we will dive a little bit deeper in that during this next 60 to 70 minutes. Usually I do 3 hours because I have a long way to come here. So it's not worth to come for 1 hour from Switzerland, but because it's Friday evening, I will try to make it as short as possible. About myself. Kathy mentioned it. I'm in this business now since around 21 years, and everything started at the age of 25. When I was 26, sorry, at the age of 26, when I was diagnosed with cancer. Which hit me out of nothing. It happened on I think it was even a Friday afternoon, that I felt a little knot here in my hip, and I became a little bit nervous because, I didn't know it should not be there. So I went to the doctor and he examined it, and it turned out to be something which should be cut out immediately. So I literally had a surgery right away with a local anesthesia in my spine, and this little knot here appeared as the tumor with the size of a fist, and it growed in here over probably months or years without creating any negative effects, so that I should become aware of it in advance. However, the pathologist told that I was suffering from a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It was stage 3 at that time. So I didn't know that, but now today I know, because I learned a lot about all these kind of diseases, that I was statistically 70% dead. And this is not such an amusing message, especially when you don't feel that you are ill, because I really didn't feel anything. So, long story short, I went through the whole classical medical protocols. They did a second surgery on me. They cut me off from here to here. They took out the entire lymph string here to make sure that they catch all eventual metastasis. I went through a full stage of chemotherapy, and this took about 3.5 months until I left the hospital. And this picture on the left side, this was made 1 week after I left the hospital, because I could not deal with ill people anymore. So I was flying to Florida, to Disney World, just to have a good time. And I was about 35 kilos lighter than I usually should be. And the challenge with a chronic disease like cancer is that when you are treated, when you went through the whole protocols, then you never know whether or when or if this cancer will come back. And you are alone in this world. Nobody is helping you once you leave the hospital. Nobody gives you advice, what you should do, where you should go. And I think this was more or less the topic which bothered me the most, that I had to live now with something like a time bomb inside myself, and I never knew when this breaks out again. And that even till today, I mean, I have this year, I'm gonna celebrate my 25th cancer-free anniversary. I must say this. So, but still, when I feel something not right in my body, and I cannot track it to a certain disease, or I cannot figure out what's going on, my cancer body is coming back inside myself. And then you become a little bit nervous. Of course, you learn to control this situation over time, and you become a little bit less nervous. However, but it's you live with it, probably the whole life. What's good about this disease is, actually, when I talk about my individual personal cases, that I started asking questions to myself after I left the hospital. What can I do to stay proactive or to become proactive? When you are 25, you don't think about disease. This is crystal clear. You think about parties, about girls, about everything what a 25-year-old guy thinks about. And then you suddenly realize, wow, you are just, you were 70% dead. Now they helped you, but you don't know in which direction your life is gonna go. And I realized for myself that education might be the key. Because it was funny when I left the hospital, and of course everybody was aware what's going on with me. You know how it is. Yeah? So this goes like crazy. And then you come home, and then all these people approach you and said, oh, I heard about your disease. I'm sorry. I have a good idea. You should see this doctor. I have a specialist. He already cured people who suffer from cancer and so on. I have some supplements. You should take this. I have this and that and this and that. If I would probably go after every single advice and eat and drink everything what was referred to me, I would not be alive anymore. Who knows? But the biggest problem is, how can I determine what's good and what's not so good for me? So, and education is the key. And that's probably also the reason why you all came tonight. Because, of course, you want to hear something about this machine or whatsoever, you know how it works. But I think the main idea, most of you have an issue health-wise. And you probably also heard about these stories already. You went through the supplements, you went through this and that, or you are an athlete who is looking for better performance. This is also an audience we address our products to. We have even people who don't want to become ill, so they use it for prevention, which is a pretty cool idea. Because that's the cheapest and safest way to stay healthy, is not to become ill. It makes sense. So prevention is something which more and more people, take note, and they wanna become proactive. They figure out that something is wrong in our society. That more and more diseases break out where the classical medical system has no answers, no cure, or maybe doesn't diagnose correctly whatsoever, you know. I'm personally not against classical medicine, because without my surgeon cutting out the tumor, I would probably not be here anymore. So don't get me wrong. I'm not against classical medicine. But we face a lot of diseases nowadays, which are, in my opinion, 90% environmentally related, due to the big changes what happens in our environment. Socially, naturally, you can look in each faculty, you will find 20 reasons why we not function anymore like we should. And, you know, education is the key. You need to know what's going on, and that's what I did. I started educating myself, and believe me, 26 years ago, education was not so easy. There was no Google. You know, you had to go in a library to read books. You had to visit fairs, health expos, lectures, and so on to collect information. And I did that. And I got to know it about 25 years. A lot of these holistic modalities, they came off the ground, you know, or they even experienced a renaissance because they were forgotten, like Ayurveda from India and all that stuff, you know. This is ancient healing which was forgotten or suppressed, you know, depending on in which country it was and from where it came from. But there's a lot of good stuff out, but if you are not educated, how can you figure out if it works for you or what is behind all that? So I went through all this, and I was on one lecture. It was in Austria. I was born and raised in Bavaria, so I'm very close to the Austrian border. So I went there, and there was a guy talking about PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic fields, and very enthusiastic. And this was around the time when the first units, machines, systems, however you call them, appeared on the market for home use. And the basic science, this is also interesting, is not coming from the medical world, it's coming from the physical world. You know, the first prototype, PEMF prototype, was developed in the Technical University in Munich, Professor Dr. Warnke. And he figured out that if you expose a pulsed electromagnetic field with a certain frequency range, with a certain intensity range, on human beings, that they start fall asleep. So the first prototype was called the sleeping machine. And the first indication for PEMF was discovered. Because it was and it is still probably the choice number one for people suffering from insomnia. And it works really well, even if you don't believe in it. Just need to lie on it, it works, you know. With most even right at the first application, after a couple of minutes. So, and nowadays we know about every third person on this planet suffers from sleeping problems. So that's a big thing. And I bought one of these machines because I figured out that's something really good. It is very convenient because I can do it in the comfort of my home. It is not dangerous. So the PEMF, low-pulse PEMF devices, they do not harm you. Even if you forget to turn them off and you lie on them the whole night, it would not harm you. You know, so, and you can do it consistently, like I said, in the comfort of your home, without going in a doctor's office every day, which takes a lot of efforts, and the weather, and the traffic, and all that. Overall, it was just perfect for me. And because of the chemotherapy, I was also suffering from insomnia. And this is a very pleasant combination when you're already below the carpet, because they cut you off, they take everything out, and you are energetically at zero, and then you cannot sleep anymore. So by utilizing this technology, I became better. Not right away. It took me about 6 weeks until I had my first night sleeping through, but it was a breakthrough for me. And from that day, I remember that when I woke up, I felt for the first time after months that my body was capable of responding to an external therapy. And then I realized, wow, if your body is responding, that means your body still wants to stay alive. You know what I mean? So there is interest from your system. I had days I didn't want to stay alive anymore because I saw no reason anymore, because I was just not myself. And this was the turnaround. And from that day, I did nothing else. I did not take any supplements. I always ate healthy because I was born and raised in a village with 700 people in the middle of the Alps. And 25 years ago, we still had organic food without even knowing that it was organic food. You know what I mean? Now we must hunt for organic food. And 50% of the organic food that we buy that is labeled organic food is not organic food. It's labeled organic food. So again, we have to educate ourselves to differentiate between all these labels and what's really organic and what's really good and what's bad for us. And education is the key. And because of my personal experience, I got intrigued about this technology, and I started again to research on my own. And I figured out that pulsed electromagnetic fields, or electromagnetic fields in general, is a very old form of healing. Very ancient form of healing. Even the Greeks, 2,000 years ago, the Greek healers, they had these so-called magnes litos, that means magnetic stones. And they grabbed these stones and they were moving it around the patients. Because they figured out when they just put it on a patient, it has only a very short effect, and then the effect diminishes again. However, when they start moving those magnetic stones, the effect became lasting. And that's why we use nowadays pulsed electromagnetic fields and no static magnetic fields, because we know that pulsed electromagnetic fields create more attention from our organism in order to create counteracting results. Pretty interesting. So what I did was nothing new, but it was not established in the classical medical world. And there is also a reason why. Because even till today, energy medicine is not part of the faculty of classical medicine. You know, and if a doctor has no education about quantum physics, about energy medicine, how can he or she provide you with a treatment modality? It's just not impossible. Again, no education. That's the problem. Go to your. Do we have a doctor here? Can I ask? MD? I have no problem. We will not shoot them. Probably. No, but if you have a cardiologist in your environment, go to a cardiologist and ask him or her why there is no heart cancer in the world. It's a pretty cool question. Heart cancer does not exist. There are very rare cases, but those cases are connected to DNA problems, so to genetic problems. But it looks like that the cancer is the heart is not able to turn into a malignant situation. And can you imagine what could be the reason for this? Well, it's energy. It's energy because the heart is the only organ which has its own electromagnetic generator. And the fact is, or the quintessence on this is that the heart cell is always working on the highest possible level, and it will never have the time, the chance to turn into a malignant situation. You know, cancer can only appear when one or more of our body cells they reach a certain critical membrane potential, so that they are not able to do their job anymore, and then they get bored, and then after a while, when they are really bored, they say, "Oh, I need to do something," and then they start developing this self-destructing problem, what we know as cancer. It's uncontrolled cell growth.
Would it be from lack of oxygen?
That's so for sure, yeah. But lack of oxygen is only one of the triggers which leads to a lower membrane potential. But in general, when the membrane potential is low for whatever reasons, everyday McDonald's, it doesn't matter. Then, you know, the cell is not able to do its job anymore, and then it may, under certain circumstances, turn into a bad situation, which we know as cancer. And cancer is rising. Who has no cancer case in their environment? Every day we hear about them. It's dramatic. It's really dramatic. And there is a reason for it. And the reason is not that we are changing so much. The main reason is that our environment is changing so much. And we get so much affected by. And I think to understand what's going on with us and to understand how we can defend ourselves, how we can become proactive and do something for our health, that's what I'm doing since 21 years, doing these lectures, thousands of lectures, universities, lay people, health fairs, all over the world, really all over the world. And not talking about the machines. The machine is, this is the carrier. But you have to understand what happens when you lie on such a machine. And this is the idea what I'm hopefully bring a little bit closer to you tonight, to make it easy and simple to understand why pulse electromagnetic fields are vital for you, are essential for you, and are good for you, and help you to stay healthy or to become healthy again. As I did nothing by the side. I would never say that this technology healed my cancer, because I cannot. I have no proof for this. And I don't care, because I'm here, I'm alive. You know, at the end you don't care if everything works out, you know, but I know what I did to come to this point, to stand here in front of you tonight and to share my knowledge, my wisdom, my experiences with you. This is what counts and nothing else. And I so appreciate that on a Friday evening you take the time to listen to this guy from Germany, and hopefully we go along very well, and like I said, I finish my job before you finish yours. You mentioned it, we have crazy life. When you do 150 days of travel a year, you need to find an exhaust, where you get rid of everything, you know, where you literally force yourself to forget about anything, business, cancer, pulsed electromagnetic fields, whatsoever, you know. And that's why I found my best half through racing. She was a car racer even before me, before I started, but she did the crazy things. She was in hill climb, which when we were together, I took her out from this because I could not see this. So many rocks, so many trees. That's a no-go, because I really want to share my life with her, not only a few days or a couple months or years. So I brought her into circuit racing because I'm a formula racer, and yeah, we raced. This is the 4th season now. We start the 4th season together. The cool thing is we race in the same series. So we are actually opponents on the track, which is sometimes, as long as I'm faster than her, it's okay. But yeah, I'm just blessed that I have such a wonderful woman on my side who is not only racing with me, but also is in the business and taking care of the money, which I sometimes regret, because that's another story, that's another lecture. Well, that's her and that's me, so just a little bit of an idea. But yeah, this is, we have a good life, but we appreciate it, because I think this is the most important thing. If you have good things going on in your life, you will always value them when you really appreciate every day you can be on this planet. And believe me, I do it, you know. I did this business, I developed this business out of my personal experience. I wasn't a scientist, I wasn't a physicist, I had a very good basic education. However, I could never calculate the sawtooth profile waveforms which are coming out here. But I told my engineers what they have to do, and they did it. And I was able to tell them what to do because I educated myself years and years and years. And it's not stopping, it's an ongoing process. And right now, after 21 years, we have a global operation with offices in Asia, in North America, in Europe. We are the world leader in this technology for home use, 6th generation products, exciting new products in the making. So there's a lot going on, and yeah, I'm just very thankful for my cancer, because without my cancer, I would probably, I don't know, be a sports trainer or whatsoever, and would not have the possibility to get to know all of you all over the world, and that makes a huge difference. So thank you again for being here tonight. Now let's talk about some facts. Believe it or not, in 2050, about 22% of the entire population will be over the age of 60. That's good news for the people who made it. Bad news for the healthcare systems. The problem is, it would be not a problem. The problem behind this is that nowadays, the older we become, the more chronically ill we become. And that creates a problem for the healthcare systems, because they cannot afford the old people anymore. And that leads to the fact that a lot of elderly people, they will probably not be treated the way they should. And the reason is, like I said, there is a lot of things going on. We have fast increasing diseases, chronic diseases, Alzheimer, Parkinson, cancer, all kinds of cancers. You name the organ, the cancer is there. And we have a very, very dramatic increase in all these cases. So the next 30, 40 years are not going to be fun for the people who are also in our generation, for the digital natives coming up. You know, they grow up with a totally different environment, which we should not underestimate. There's a lot of things going on. I will talk a little bit about that later on. So by improving our education level, what's going on, and then by, as a conclusion, by increasing the possibilities, what we can do to counteract this, we can probably survive that. However, the challenge is on a race. And we have the challenge already. Just one more thing about cancer. If you look at the statistics, what happened the last 25 years in cancer treatments, you can probably figure out that the survival time of a cancer patient is calculated from the day they find out the diagnosis until the exitus, the passing, and then they show you the studies and say, wow, we increased the survival time from 5 to 9 years. However, if you are really honest and look on these statistics, you're going to figure out that in cancer research, the modalities to diagnose cancer, they really improved. So the medical world is able to diagnose cancer earlier, which of course then increases the survival time. Because if you diagnose it earlier, but if you look on the treatment side, there's not so much going on. The chemotherapies become maybe a little bit more pleasant. A chemotherapy is very unpleasant, I can tell you, very unpleasant. And maybe nowadays it's not so unpleasant anymore than 25 years ago, when they really, and you experienced everything what you don't want to experience, but it's still, there's not a lot going on comparing to what we see, how much money goes into that. And for the business behind it, it's good, because we have two target groups in the pharmaceutical business which the lobbyists don't like. And that's healthy people and dead people, because you cannot make money with them. So think about this. What's also interesting is, even today, about 50% or 60% of the entire population die already from the consequences of chronic diseases. Those are the three biggest ones: cancer, heart attack, stroke. And now think about these three diseases. All of them, they don't have to be. A heart attack has to be well earned. You don't get a heart attack overnight. You have to do 20, 30 years every day wrong things, consistently. And then the day comes and bingo. But it's not an overnight disease. It's, like I said, it's very well earned. And cancer is, in my opinion, 95% environmentally related. Where people work, what people eat, where people live nowadays, because we have new exposures and new threats when it comes to become affected by cancer. So more or less things, we have no choice, almost. So some people working in paper factories, in factories where they are attached to chemicals and so on, they have a higher risk of developing cancer, Parkinson, Alzheimer, because, if you work 40 years in a factory where you get toxins every day, where do the toxins go? Or what happened to you if you sit in front of your computer every day 8 to 10 hours, and you have to because you have to make a living, and you are not educated how to protect yourself from the electromagnetic exposure caused by a laptop or whatsoever. You can easily manage to lower the risk if you get the education. So that's the key. And strokes, it's the same. It's a circulation problem. And poor circulation is caused by less exercise, by eating the wrong food, drinking too much alcohol, smoking too many cigarettes, and so on and so on and so on. It's all man-made. Our organism is not designed to create a stroke. Our organism is not designed to create a heart attack. It's coming from somewhere. There's always a cause for it. And like I said, in 10 years, the worldwide healthcare systems can no longer be financed. That's a big problem. Healthcare will be divided in 3-4 classes. Some of them will make it, some of them will not make it because they cannot afford it. Yeah? Or they are smart and said it's not, and which is true, healthcare is not all about money. It's much more about education, believe me. If you know what to do to prevent yourself, then I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, everybody could afford it. It's not a question of money. It's a question of efforts, and it's a question of knowledge, education. Those are the much more important things. And this new threat I was talking about, we have some numbers here. Statistically, each person on this planet, including all the children in Africa who dies from hunger, they own a cell phone. 7.5 billion. That's a lot. And this technology is not even 25 years old. Imagine that. Now you can probably get an idea. I'm not talking about the 2.5 billion personal computers. Increasing. Now think about technology which was developed about 25 years ago and now almost conquered the whole planet with all its attachments. No PC has any value without Wi-Fi. No smartphone has any value without Bluetooth. And so on. All these technologies developed around, they changed our environment dramatically. The brutal thing is, we don't feel it. If you stand in front of this laptop 5 hours, it doesn't smell bad, which would alert your senses and say, go away because you cannot take this. But this little laptop is constantly exposing electromagnetic fields. And we don't know if it may harm you, if it does nothing to you. Well, at least I know it. And most of the people who are already a little bit educated, they know it. But 95% of the population have no clue that if you use your smartphone here for half an hour every day, that you increase your risk of developing a brain cancer by X amount of 100%. And the studies are there, but nobody wants to publish them because it will jeopardize business. And the business is big with smartphones. We know which is right now the most valuable company on the stock market. It's this nice fruit. Yeah, exactly. And, I remember the time when apples were fruits and not smartphones. And a lot of you here in the audience probably remember the same. And like I said, the people who are with our company remember that newsletter I sent you with this nice advertising from American medical doctors who made TV commercial for Camel cigarettes in 1949. Official TV commercial. A national survey showed that 60% of all medical doctors in the United States smoke Camel. And then they show the doctors when they sit in their doctor's office and the patient is standing beside. You laugh about this, So I ask you, what's going to be the next commercial which we laugh about in 40 years? Somebody holding his iPhone 10 or whatsoever. And then the next generation, Emily generation, will say, look, this guy with the iPhone. Unbelievable that they used it at that time. Because now, in 40, 50 years, we know that maybe 50% of all people using that half an hour per day constantly, they will die from cancer. Who knows? I don't want to make you nervous, but just to give you an idea, the only reason why we take for granted what we have is because we don't know yet what's going on. So again, lack of knowledge and lack of education. But something is going to happen with all these information. Right now in this room we have 500 TV channels. The problem is we cannot see them because we don't have a receiver which make them visible for us. But the information is there. Cool, huh? And if this information would be visible, we could not see each other anymore. We have right now probably, let's say, 50% at least have a smartphone. Maybe 60%. And maybe 50% of that 60% forgot to put it on flight mode. So we have a lot of informational interaction going on because a smartphone wants always stay connected to the provider, because if not, the provider makes no money with you. So there's a lot of information, and this is all artificial information. That was not here before this invention started to conquer the world 25 years ago. This is crazy. And you think it's just going somewhere? No, it's around us. It's around us, and it affects us. The only reason why we don't feel it, that it affects us, is because we didn't develop an organ yet to sense these new kind of information. Maybe in 10,000 years, evolution will do the job, and we grow this antenna here, which is able to detect electromagnetic waves and say, oh, you have to go away because this frequency is not good for you. In quantum physics, we know of some phenomena which are pretty cool. The easiest one, maybe it happened to you. You sit in a coffee shop and you drink your coffee, and then somehow you have the feeling that somebody is looking at you, behind you. Did it ever happen to you? That you have the feeling, I don't know, that somebody is observing me. And then you turn around and yes, this person looks at you. And now explain to me this phenomenon with Newton's physics. You will fail, because there is no explanation, because you don't have eyes here. So you cannot see this person. So there is something, we probably have some senses which are pathologically not proven, but which gives us the capability to sense things even if we don't smell them, don't hear them, don't see them, or don't touch them. This is quantum physics. And that's why the new big thing in medicine is quantum physics. Because with Newton's physics, we are at the end. There is nothing more to explain. And all these phenomena, they require a new point of view, and that's quantum physics. You know, and then we will be probably also able to prove phenomena like love or hate, because love is also energy. When you walk on the street and you see a nice girl and you boom, you know, what happens? Yeah, that's an electromagnetic storm. You know, it's like doof, doof, and suddenly, you know, you have this feeling. That's her, you know? And then you develop skills which you think, you know, it's not me. You know, but think about what happens energetically. This is really cool. You know, or you are tired and you're so tired you don't want to hear anything, don't want to see anything, and then somebody comes with a good message to you. Suddenly, boom! And you are like this, you know? Why? Tell me why. I don't know. I don't know. But this is energy medicine. And now imagine you get exposed to electromagnetic field and you feel not good, and suddenly something happens and you feel better. This is energy. And the problem we have is we cannot describe what's going on, and that's why we don't believe in this, even if it happens. I experienced that so many times, you know, even with the biggest skeptics, you know, you put them on, the biggest skeptic, 15 years suffering from insomnia, and then you put him on the mat for 16 minutes or her, and after 4 minutes, and then after 6 minutes you wake him up or her, and then you say, you see, something happened. Yeah, I was tired anyway, I would have fallen asleep anyway. You know? Does it make sense? No. You know? Like I said, I don't care. When it, you know, if it works, I don't care. You know? And then if you have these people, they always ask for studies. Give me some studies about PEMF. I said, here is the study, lie on it, and tell me if you feel better after 16 minutes. That's human beings. You know, it's curious. So you will never experience if something is good or bad for you if you don't do it. This is how simple it is. This is life, this is health, this is social, everything. If you don't do it, you will never find out if it's good for you or not. So the only way to figure out if something is good for you, no matter if it's a relationship, if it's health, if it's PEMF technology whatsoever, I don't know, nutrient, well, you have to do it. And then you will figure it out if it works for you. This is as simple as it is. And you cannot deny it. And we are living, unfortunately, on this planet right now in this time frame where a lot of changes in our environment are going on. Food. The quality of food is horrible. You know, comparing to 25, 30 years ago. And the reason is very simple. Because there are too many people on this planet already. And the natural resources are not sufficient anymore to feed all mouths. So we need to create additional food, artificial food. GMO, all this stuff, you know, potatoes look like melons, and all that kind of kinky stuff. And of course we need to have this, I don't know, Congo bongo fruit from Peru on our market, fresh, in December. Instead of doing what our grandparents did, to just eat what's locally grown or what can be preserved locally during the winter or during the summer, which would be the right way to feed us. No, but we are, fancy. Mango, we need mango. You know, if you really want to figure out how a mango tastes, go to Thailand. Then you will figure out how a mango tastes. It tastes totally different from what you know here. You know, I know, because we go there. If you bite in a mango in Thailand, they said, yeah, this is mango, yes. You know, and here you lose 2 teeth when you bite in a mango. But this is how crazy we became, because we are victims of economy, you know, and we buy all this crap. And that creates problems, you know. The Congo bongo fruit from Peru lying in the ship container for 6 weeks to ripen. Yeah, when you unpack it here in Vancouver, it looks pretty sad, I tell you. There's not so much in there anymore. But it's cool. We can have this stuff. You know? So, yeah, education again. It took us, I mean, we educate ourselves still every day with food. We are very keen about good food, and not about that we are only vegans or vegetarians, or, you know, it's not about this. It's about exploring what is good, what is the right food at the right time for us, because we love food. I love tasty food. You know, I don't like when everybody always eats nuts the whole day, because you cannot eat nuts. There's so much good food. How can you eat nuts the whole day? You know? This phrase, you going nuts, it must come from somewhere, you know? So there is such a variety of very tasty, healthy food, but again, you must create interest, and you must show a bit of efforts to get into this and learn about that. And it's pretty cool, really. So, and then you can feed yourself healthy. It's the same with liquid food, you know. There are water. I mean, water is a lecture for 5 weeks in the meantime. You have artisan water, you have alkaline water, you have this water, that water, that. Yeah, 25 years ago, you had water. And it was okay, you know? And now, and you had coffee 25 years ago. You know, when you go to Starbucks nowadays, it takes 10 minutes to order a coffee because they ask you so many questions. This is crazy. And at the end, they put so much topics inside that it's not tasting like coffee anymore. And they charge $8 for this, and people buy it. That's how we are. This summary of electrosmog, ladies and gentlemen, this is actually the topic number 1, which creates a lot of functional problems in our organism. Because what we are probably know most of the classical medical topics, because they are all related to biochemistry. So we have these possibilities to make blood tests, to make saliva tests, to make urinary tests, whatsoever, and then we get a result which tells you whether the values are above or below the thresholds. I always ask myself, who creates these thresholds? You know what's the coolest thing what happens now this year? They're gonna they're gonna lower the threshold for blood pressure. Did you hear about that? And cholesterol. Boah. So it means if you have a blood pressure, let's say 128 to 86, which was considered 20 years ago like healthy like a rock, with the new thresholds, you suffer already from high blood pressure. Yeah, 120 to 80 is the new threshold. And they do it because this is business.
And at the same time, in Canada, did you guys hear that? They're going to decrease the prices for drugs.
Yeah, and they're going to decrease the prices because they can... Exactly, they can spread it more. This is brutal what's going on, you know? And again, you need to get educated. You don't need to swallow everything. Literally. You know what I mean? But this is brutal what's going on, you know? This is a big business. And our choices today, and I pretty much summarized it already, become proactive, live preventive. Start living preventive. Start thinking about your diet, what you have. I'm not telling you what you should eat, because that will not work. I don't like people when they tell me what I should do and what I should not do. No, at least inform yourself, educate yourself, and then decide for yourself what you want to do with what you feel comfortable with. But become alerted, become aware of certain things, and this is the step number one to create motivation to become proactive. Because it takes efforts. It's like after Christmas, you know that in January you have the highest rate of sign-ups in fitness centers. Because everybody has 5 turkeys around him or her, and they want to get rid of it. So they 1st of January, they go and sign up. And then the first 5 days they go there, and then they will never be seen again. It's because to stay healthy, to create prevention, that creates ongoing efforts. And those ongoing efforts will only be followed by human beings when it becomes a daily routine. The reason why we every day brush our teeth, it's not because somebody told us that it's very dangerous to not do it. It's just because everybody is doing it, and it may help that you can keep your teeth over a longer period. But do you put your teeth brushing on a clock every day, that you say, okay, now 2 minutes? No, you brush your teeth until you think you're good. Sometimes it's 30 seconds, sometimes it's 2 minutes. You don't do that on a clock. You just do it as a daily routine.
And you don't look for studies.
Yeah, and you don't look for studies. Yeah. And you do that consistently, and that's why, more or less, it keeps your teeth nice and shiny. If you don't do it, it goes the other way. But like I said, this is, for us, we don't question this because it's part of our daily routine. And when it comes to becoming proactive and to do something for your health, you have to come to the point where you do what you do to make it a daily routine. And then it's done. Then you do it. And then you don't question, I have no time to do this. No, you just do it. You know, like we do, the people who have a PEMF system, they invest at least 2 times 8 minutes per day. And for them, it's not, I don't have these 8 minutes. So it's part of their daily routine. Oh.
There are big rewards.
Yes, and there are big rewards for, exactly. So, we must learn that we are not the kings on this planet. We are just a tiny part of a very, very complex universal system. And we got the chance to be born on this planet and to stay for a certain while, enjoy all the amenities, and making the best of our days which we have. I think that should be the goal. So let's see, when we talk about overall health, which vital elements I'm always talking about our organisms, need to survive and thrive. And obviously, pretty easy to understand, we need water. Oxygen is also something we need. We can figure that out if we don't have it for 2 minutes, that we really need it. Light makes also sense. Without light, we cannot maintain our organism. Gravity is also important. Why? Because gravity controls our bones. If we would not be under gravity, we would probably suffer from osteoporosis very quickly. Because by expanding and compressing bones, you create friction, and this friction creates a so-called piezoelectric effect. This piezoelectric effect is responsible for creating osteoblasts, bone cells. And that's the reason why people suffering from osteoporosis, they even degenerate quicker when they don't move anymore. Because they cannot create this piezoelectric effect anymore, which is 100% energetic effect, not a biochemical effect, by the way. One of the reasons, and this is also a very interesting example, retirement. We have this retirement thing all over the world. In Germany, it's 65 years. I'm not sure what the threshold here in Canada is, more or less probably the same, right? So with 65 years, you can retire. So energetically, that means with 65 years, you start dying. Because what happens, you come home, you have your last day of working, and then you do nothing anymore. You're just hanging around, you're enjoying doing nothing because you worked for 45 years, you achieved a certain pension, whatsoever, and now is the time to do nothing anymore. What happens to those people when they really do nothing and they follow the protocol? They get ill very quickly. You can really look at them because they stop living. Yeah? They diminish. They rotten. This is what happens. Their organism is rotten because they don't support their own body anymore to stay alive. By not utilizing gravity, by not utilizing exercise anymore, by not eating properly anymore, by doing all kinds of things wrong. And if you really look at it, retirement is an invention of society. Our body is not designed to retire. We are actually designed to do exactly the same thing what we also do with 20, with 85 or 90. Maybe not so intense anymore, because we already lost a lot of body cells and therefore don't have the same ability than we had maybe 50, 60 years ago. But in general, nothing will change. And I tell you, if you decide not to retire, you will have a better life when you become older, because you will not suffer from all this crap. This is as simple as it is. Does it make sense? Totally. Totally. So never retire, really, never retire. Always find something. If you don't do this job anymore, do something else, And that's reality. So, what most people don't know, electromagnetism is also an elemental force. And now I slowly come to the point why PEMF is so vital for you and is so essential for you. Because, like I said, we live in an environment where a lot of changes are going on around us. We have an tremendous increasing amount of artificial information around us. And that all bothers us. And that all creates problems in our body. The interactions of our entire system are disturbed by artificial information. And they cannot work the same way like 25, 50, 100, 150 years ago and before, where life was not artificial. Because, one example, it just came to my mind, allergies. This is one of the chronic diseases #1 nowadays, even starting in childhood already. Allergies is a product of civilization. 100 and 150 years ago, people were not allergic because there was nothing to be allergic against. Now we are allergic against gluten, this and that. All this artificial crap. And this is all a development, man-made developments, and all man-made diseases. What do you think is the reason for ADHD, for ADD, for autism? You think it's, where does it come from? Of course, it's a pretty modern development of diseases. And it's man-made, And like I said, the digital natives, our children, I can just beg you to really seriously educate your children how to utilize technology. They can, they should, and they have to probably, because it's part of the new thing. You know, however, you know, we have to give them, to provide them responsibility, to use all these things responsible so that they can still enjoy their life and become old without becoming ill. It's very important. And that's why I want to, probably you heard about that the Earth, our planet, has its own magnetic field. Did you hear about that? The Earth magnetic field? Did you ever ask yourself, what is this for? Why does the Earth has a magnetic field? Most of the people say, yeah, I know it, but I didn't think about this, what it's for. Well, it has actually two jobs to do. First of all, and you can see this on this little animation, what you see here, these blue lines, or this blue field with the white lines, this is the magnetic field of the Earth against the sun. So the sun is coming from here, shining here, sending out these particles, high energetic particles, and it forces the magnetic field of the Earth towards the other end. That's why it looks like a little bit like a tail here. If the electromagnetic atmosphere would be not around us, the sunstorms would hit the surface directly and we would never be able to live here because nothing would grow, everything would be hot, no chance. So actually the Earth magnetic field protects us from the sunstorms, and in the same time, what's pretty cool, the Earth magnetic field creates its own frequencies and creates its own interactions with the atmosphere, the so-called ionosphere. Maybe you heard about the Schumann resonances. Did you ever hear this word? Schumann resonances. 7.83 hertz. The cool thing about the Schumann resonances, by the way, he was German, of course, who discovered that. Yeah, he was a German physicist. And he figured out that the ionosphere, which is the distance from the surface of the planet Earth until the outer space, where there is no gravity, no oxygen anymore, exactly within that space, there is a prevailing, very consistent frequency, 7.83 hertz, caused by the Earth magnetic field. The Earth magnetic field, by the way, ranges between 11.75 and 11.79 hertz. So all very low frequencies. For all the people who were not in school in physics, 1 hertz is 1 cycle per second. So it's the unit for frequency. 1 hertz is 1 cycle per second. So 7.83 hertz is a frequency which vibrates with 7.83 vibrations per second. And this Schumann frequency is consistent. Can you imagine? This is, you see, our system is so tinily connected. And the Schumann resonances are also called by the weather, by the lightning strikes and the spherics. It's all science. You can read about it. There are studies for this. I'm not talking, okay? So everything is literally connected on a very, very narrow level. And the whole system only works if all these resonance properties and frequencies are in place. And all these frequencies are natural frequencies. The frequency of the Earth magnetic field was always there. The Schumann resonance is always there. And we learned in physics, maybe you remember, if two frequencies meet each other, what do they create? Additional frequencies. So-called harmonics or overwaves. So you can probably imagine that when all these natural frequencies meet each other, they literally create an orchestra of a symphony of frequencies, which, again, are surrounding us. and which all, and that's interesting, are all in the range between more or less 0.5 to 25 hertz. 0.5 to 25 cycles per second. A very important number to remember, because if you look at the exposed frequency, for example, of a smartphone, 800 to 1900 megahertz. You know what mega means? A lot. 1 megahertz is 1 million hertz. So that's 1 million cycles per second. So the carrier frequency of a smartphone is between 800 and 1900 million cycles per second. That's a pretty high energy and is far out of the natural range. Who has a cordless home phone? Be honest. Thank you. If you look at the backside of your cordless home phone, you will find a number, because all these cordless home phones, more or less, they run with 2.75 gigahertz. 1 gigahertz is 1000 megahertz. So maybe it happened to you already when you all talk with your best friend, which usually takes longer than 5 minutes or 50 minutes. At a certain point, did you ever observe yourself what happens? The ear becomes warm. Some people, they don't trigger this, but they even trigger that they get a headache. And this warming up the ear, this is an interaction between the high frequency and your blood that creates heat. And if you do this constantly, you probably trigger a lot of bad things in your head, because you are exposed to a very, very unnatural high frequency, which more or less creates very negative interactions with your tissue. So the best and healthiest way to communicate is still face-to-face. That there is this joke, they say, what do you do at home when you want to gather a family meeting? You just have to turn off the Wi-Fi, and then everybody comes to the living room. So yeah. So face to face, or you use a cord phone. There is more or less no electromagnetic high energy exposure. And by the way, if you use your smartphone and you have longer talks, all the smartphones are coming with earphones. And they can be plugged into your smartphone, and they have also a microphone, so you can hear what the other person on the other end tells you, and you can also talk in this microphone. This is a by far more healthier way to use your smartphone for longer discussions. But the unhealthiest thing is to really keep it on the ear. Don't do this. And also for the man, don't carry your smartphone in your pocket during the whole day, because it's connected to your second brain. And if you do this consistently over a long period of time, you need these tiny little blue pills to show performance. And also don't put your mobile phone here in the breast pocket, because you are very closely connected to your heart and you create very unpleasant interactions. You know, if you do this over time, it's not good. Who is using the smartphone as an alarm clock? Okay. It's interesting, only the people on the right side of it. Thank you for saving the quote. Thank you. Exactly. Well, actually, you can do this, but what you should always do when you go to bed with your smartphone? Exactly. Put it on airplane or on flight mode. Why? Because if you put it on flight mode, it's not connected to the to Wi-Fi. It's not connected to your provider anymore. It is more or less dumb. And that also means there is no electromagnetic, or there is a little bit, but almost no electromagnetic intervention, which is a good thing, because when you use your smartphone, usually as an alarm clock, you have it on your nightstand, which is very close to your brain when you sleep. So when you forget to put it on flight mode and you don't sleep well, then I can tell you where it's coming from. You know, this is exactly the source which creates such unpleasant nights. And I know people, they do this for years, not because they want to hurt themselves, it's just because they didn't know about this. So always put your phone on flight mode, and again, if you put this on in your daily routine, you will never forget it. It's a very good possibility to increase your health and to optimize your sleep. The planet on the right side, we all know him, is the moon. The moon is a very sad planet, as you can see, because the moon doesn't create its own magnetic field. And this is how a planet looks when it has no electromagnetic energy. Nothing is growing, nothing is happening, no interaction. You know why I love this picture? Because I always see this analogy to a human cell. This is a cancer cell and this is a healthy cell. This it pictures exactly what we talk about. This cell is dead, it cannot do anything. It doesn't provide an environment to produce something, to create something, whereas our planet provides the environment to live itself and to provide life for us. So that's very important. And nowadays we are at the stage where, because of all these environmental changes, because of this dramatic increase of these high-frequency electromagnetic exposures, our system cannot perform 100% anymore. Why? Because the environment, therefore, is not given. And we develop all these kinds of problems, symptoms. Sometimes we cannot even trigger what's going on. Chronic fatigue syndrome. This is also one of these ever-growing diseases in our society. Chronic fatigue syndrome is nothing else. And by the way, what's really totally unacceptable is that chronic fatigue syndrome is even considered a psychological disease. But it is not. It's a physical deficiency disease. It has nothing to do with the brain. It's just simply that the body is not able to function properly anymore in regards to metabolism, in regards to creating energy in form of ATP, and you cannot regenerate anymore, and then you start suffering from all these kind of symptoms. You can sleep for 12 hours, you wake up in the morning and you're dead. Because your body is not able to producing energy anymore, you know? And those people, they are left alone in the society. Nobody can help them. This is fact, you know? And it is very simple. It's an energy deficiency syndrome. In order to counteract these, you need to produce more energy. So you need to create action in order to force the body to produce energy again. And all this happens on a cellular level. I learned this from Ellie, I think today. She talked about mitochondrial deficiency. Dysfunction. Yeah, you will hear this more and more. Mitochondrial dysfunction. And to understand mitochondrial dysfunction, we just have to look at a human cell, which we see here. You know, every human cell looks the same. Every animal cell looks the same. It all has a nucleus in the middle. That's the core. What's in the nucleus? You know that? That's the DNA. You know, that's the software, what the cell has to do. That's the decision factor whether this cell grows hairs, or whether this cell is part of liver or the kidney, whatsoever. You know, this is written here. Because basically every human cell has exactly the same structure. And just the software code here is different and decides what this cell is going to do. Then we have, this is the so-called membrane of the cell. And the membrane of the cell is a pretty cool piece of art because it creates permeability. It has the ability to let stuff in and to get rid of stuff in the same time. And this letting in stuff and giving rid of stuff, that's what we call metabolism. So, what do we need for metabolism? Well, we need fuel, we need minerals, nutrients, oxygen. Where do we get all this? From what we eat, and what we drink, and from the air we breathe. So the quality of food, the quality of liquid food, the quality of air is a, if not the factor, which determines whether we have a good or a bad metabolism. It makes total sense, right? So why we eat fast food every day? You know? Imagine you have a Ferrari in your garage. You know what men do with a Ferrari? They talk to these cars. They cuddle these cars. They give them the best fuel. They wash them every day. You know, they would give the last pants or shirt to keep this car in shape. You would never put diesel in a Ferrari, would you? Never. But we put diesel in ourselves on a daily basis. This is wrong. You know? You know, by the way, you know the reason why we do that? Why we never would do this to the Ferrari, but to ourselves? There is one important reason.
Why is it more expensive?
We got our lives for free. Thank you very much. And the Ferrari was $200,000. And that's why. This is how we are. We got our lives for free. Imagine you become born with a bank account with a depth of $200,000, and you would have to work this debt out of your life during your lifetime. How would you treat yourself? Wow. Right? You know, I wish that from tomorrow you're going to treat yourself like the Ferrari in the garage, if you have it or not. Because I know if you would have it, you would treat it exactly the way I told you 2 minutes ago. And if you
can't even drive it.
Exactly. And if you're not healthy, you can't even drive it. This is, you know, and like I said, I'm not talking about things which are out of reach. It's talking about creating the consciousness of what you are doing wrong just because it's a daily routine. This has to stop. And before we finish this lecture, because you figured out I didn't talk about this technology yet. Cool, huh? Actually, I tell you since 1 hour that electromagnetic fields are bad. And now, I'm going to tell you that electromagnetic fields can be good. Yes, they can. Yeah. Whether an electromagnetic field is good or bad, that depends on the properties you expose. This is like in medicine, you know, snake poison can kill you or can heal you. It depends on the dose. And in energy medicine it's the same, you know. We have electromagnetic fields like laptops, like cordless phones, like smartphones. They will harm you. And on the other hand, we have electromagnetic fields, they can heal you. They can keep you healthy. They can initiate and maintain great things in your organism. And how they do this, I'm going to explain you also with this slide, and then you totally get it. Because we are programmed to understand and to learn all the so-called biochemical processes in our body. This is easy to understand for us because the whole education in medicine is based on that. You know, everything is biochemical. all the chemical processes, metabolism. There is coming all these minerals, nutrients, they go inside the cell, there are the mitochondria, they change this biochemical process into ATP. You know, it's not the tennis association, it's adenosine triphosphate. This is the stuff which we know as energy. So, but what most don't do that, and now remember this sentence, there is no chemistry without energy. It's very important. There is no chemistry without energy. Energy is a much more profound factor when it comes to initiate and maintain metabolism. Why? Because we didn't talk about these bubbles here. Those bubbles are so-called ions. Maybe you heard about ions because you have it in your smartphone, because you have a lithium-ion battery. All right? What do ions do? When you kick them in the butts, they start moving and they create an electric potential, which keeps your smartphone running. The interesting thing is, when you charge the battery of your smartphone, actually what you physically do is, you plug it into the wall, and then this plug creates a magnetic field, and those magnetic fields kicks the butts of the ion, they start moving within the lithium and create an electric current. And the lithium in this battery is able to store it. This is how this works. And our body works exactly the same, because we have about 75 trillion cells, more or less depending on weight, size, but almost equal. Every human being contains of about 75 trillion cells. And around all these 75 trillion cells, we have these ions. And these ions are responsible for a very, very, very important factor when it comes to metabolism, creating the membrane potential of the cell. When the membrane potential is not there, it cannot create permeability. If the permeability is not given, all the good stuff, the nutrients, the minerals, the oxygen, everything what we need in order to metabolize cannot be absorbed and changed into ATP. So the better the permeability, the better the membrane potential of the cell, the better the ability of the cell to create energy. And whenever you lie on one of these whole body mats here, which are built here, what happens is this system creates a pulsed electromagnetic field. And this pulsed electromagnetic field has the ability to penetrate through your body infinitely. It's a big, big advantage, property of electromagnetic fields comparing, for example, to laser or to ultrasound. Laser and ultrasound has a very limited penetration depth. Electromagnetic fields, they go through entire material, like butter, nothing. So actually what you do is when you lie on one of these units, you expose your entire body, your 75 trillion cells, with an electromagnetic field, which attracts these ions, even if they are fatigued, because you don't exercise, because you don't get enough of the electromagnetic field of the Earth, because you live in the 50th level of a high-rise, because you never go outside, because inside it's nicer, and so on, because you are always surrounded by negative electromagnetic fields which counteract the movement of the ions. Whenever you lie on this, you immediately increase the movement of the ions, which creates a better membrane potential in your cell, and suddenly, bingo, the cell is much more permeable, can absorb everything what you eat in your food. And now imagine if you eat good food, and if you drink good liquid foods, and if you breathe enough oxygen, how good your metabolism will become. That's what PEMF does. Pulsed electromagnetic field therapy was never designed for a certain disease. It has a profound effect, probably the most profound of all known healing modalities. Equally, whenever you use it, on each of your 75 trillion cells. And this system doesn't care what your problem is. It just tries to improve membrane potential wherever necessary and wherever possible. And that creates all these nice stories from people. They say, I suffer 20 years from this, I have 15 years this, and then I use this for a week, and I cannot believe it. You know, and I hear these stories no matter where. The cool thing about health and disease is it has no language. It doesn't matter if you go to Asia, if you go to Europe, the problems are the same. And the possibilities to intervene are the same, because this is a uniform language, health and disease. So this creates these miracles. The system doesn't create a miracle. The system simply provides an electromagnetic field which has the frequency range and the intensity range and the ability for the body to resonate with it, to answer on this. And said, yeah, I understand this message, I take it over and go with it. This is all. But the rest is done by the body. And I believe in this fact that nobody can heal you, only the body can do it. But sometimes the body needs a kick in the butt, because it is not capable right now of initiate this process. And this technology helps you to do this. And if you use this on a consistent basis, like brushing your teeth, like doing your daily routines, then you will highly benefit, not only from turning disease into health, also from staying healthy, keeping all your systems on the highest possible level, and actually protect yourself from any kind of disease. Very profound, a very profound impact. And I would like to show you this video. It's a 2-minute video. I love it. It's so cool. Because this video will explain you the principle of resonance. The principle of resonance. This is a video that was made in a Japanese laboratory, and it's about metronomes. You know what a metronome is? The musicians use that to stay intact. So what happens here in this little video? They put 32 metronomes on a surface, and then they start kicking these metronomes randomly, all together, and then they start vibrating on this surface. And what you will experience is that all these 31 metronomes, which are kicked after the first one, they will, over time, start resonating with this. They go in sync without any external intervention. This is resonance. And why I show you this? Because this is also one of these properties those PEMF devices have. Because they send out an information, and the body is capable of resonating with this information, take it over, and stick with it. In other words, when you use this system for 8 minutes, we know that the body deals with this energy for 4 to 6 hours. So the interesting thing is you need to do this only for 8 minutes in order to create an application for the next 4 to 6 hours. Because this is as long as this modality will create an effect in your body just by doing it for 8 minutes, and that's resonance. So let's take a look at it. So we have this little bit noise here. So this was kicked first, and now they just randomly turn on all the others. And you see, it's still pretty chaotic, right? And you can also see that the surface is not fixed. It's hanging. It's a hanging surface. So the surface is capable of vibrating itself. By the way, this is a good analogy for hydration. When your body is very well hydrated, then the capability of vibrating with the energy is better. Yeah, your cells are vibrating better. When you are dehydrated, there is lack of extracellular water, then the movement is also already blocked from the cells. Now you can see some of them already go along with him. It's pretty cool how this happens, huh? This is just resonance, you know, without any external intervention. This is, by the way, this phenomenon if a corpse, a marine corpse, goes over a bridge, and when they reach the same frequency than the bridge collapses because it resonates with the force. This is the principle. And like in every audience, there is always this one skeptic. Can you see him? This is the guy who is asking for studies. Totally the opposite. You know? The good thing about resonance is there are too many others who are going to convince them to change the frequency. And that's what's going to happen now. You can see it. Just takes a little bit longer. And he lost. You can see that. And that goes on now and on. Now they tuned into the same frequency and they will never go out of sync anymore. No, they just tune. You know? That's really cool. That's resonance. And this is the property we use. Actually, we force the body to go in resonance with these external frequencies and stay with it. And that increases the membrane potential. By the way, you can also see this in a dark field microscopy. These are red blood cells. They are responsible for storing and transporting oxygen. When they have a lower membrane potential, what happens is that they lose already surface to absorb oxygen, and they start sticking together. This is the so-called Rouleux Effect. After only one application on a PEMF system, they look like this. You know, the membrane potential increases, suddenly they start to repel. Their surface increases to transport oxygen. You have a much more better oxygen supply within your entire system. And there are still 2 slides because I'm not sure if I showed you this already. This is actually a little test we did in our office in Singapore. This is Daniel Lim, he's our office manager there, also very, very into PEMF. And he has a device which is called GDV, maybe you heard about that. Biophotonic. It's a Russian diagnostic device, Professor Dr. Korotkov, and it works with biophotonic discharge. So you can measure this on the fingers whatsoever. In the meantime, those diagnostic devices are available for a very, very reasonable price. So we talk about $1,500, something like this. And you can actually, maybe who is in energy medicine, about 20, 30 years ago, it was also called aura photograph. Maybe you heard about that, or Kirlian photography. But actually, it has nothing to do with esoteric. It's pretty much energy medicine, and it's 100% quantum physics because it's dealing with biophotons. However, he did just a random little trial. He asked some patients to come in. Here we have a subject, a female, age mid-40, feeling low energy before iMRS. He was just asking her, how do you feel? She felt a little bit low energy, and then he did a GDV measuring with her. and come out with some numbers here. The energy level, 28 joule, the balance, 79%. And then he put her 15 minutes on the iMRS, on the whole body mat, or on the Omnium 1, because the properties are the same from both systems, in intensity 100. That's a pretty high intensity for a whole body application, but still, don't worry, you will not harm. For 15 minutes, and then he was waiting 10 minutes, and he did the same measuring again. And this is what happened. The energy doubled, and the balance increased from 79 to 93% right away, measurable. One application, one, not a month, one. And then this is for the people who work also with chakras, because the system is also capable of measuring the chakras. And then you can see the alignment exactly with this woman before and after an iMRS session, after one. So this is pretty remarkable. It's not 100% aligned, but if you probably do this on a consistent basis for a couple applications, you will be able to align. And this is also another way how you can display energy balance, left and right side. Here the goal is to get all these single measurements towards this green circle. So the more they go apart from it, the less positive the result is. And you can see before and after that not all the energy points are already aligned, but it looks much more balanced and much more balanced at least. So this is just to give you a little bit of an idea what you can really achieve with one single treatment. Not talking about what you can achieve if you do this on a consistent basis. It's just, it's just the energy alignment on different organs. It's like, it's an algorithm out of the biophotonic measurement. I don't want to go so deep in that, but like I said, if you're interested, you can find a lot on the internet. I can also provide you with some scientific information. I have a very good write-up from Professor Dr. Korokov about the modality behind. So if you are interested, you can ask one of your reps, and I will forward this to you. This. Is it a cell? Yeah. No, it's not a cell. It's actually it displays the different organs here and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's just different energy parameters, left and right side, before and after the iMRS application. So I don't want to go too deep in this because, like I said, this is liver and stuff like that. Just you see the overall result that there is something happening in regards to aligning and balancing the energy levels. Yeah. Yes, from this GDV device, yes, absolutely. It's all these slides are made with the same device, so that this one, and this one. Well, yeah, I think I'm pretty much done here.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not. No, of course. As far as I can see, everybody is at least still awake, which makes me happy. I hope it was a little bit of interesting, a little bit of an eye opener for you, and also gives you some excitement, some motivation to see health and disease not as something given or whatsoever. See it as a challenge, which is exciting the more you know about it. The interesting thing, what I figured out for me, the more you know about health and disease, the easier for you to stay away from personal trials with whoever, which more or less always ends up in a chaos and in a disaster, because once you are in this vicious circle and you got just driven from one place to another, this is actually not the correct approach. But like I said, education makes the difference. That's definitely what it is. And energy medicine is such an exciting faculty, and it's such an exciting topic. And you don't need to be a physician. You don't need to be an engineer. You don't need to be a doctor in order to understand that, because everything makes total sense. This is the cool thing about energy medicine, And and I can only wish you all the best on your journey, whatever this might be. If you are interested to try this technology or to know more about this technology, we have, the British Columbia is probably has the biggest density of PEMF systems from, the second biggest after California, because we started earlier there, but it's a pretty occupied place when it comes to knowledge about PEMF, thanks to all our wonderful people who joined us and who help us to spread the word and make this technology available for those who are interested in becoming healthier and even becoming an ambassador for energy medicine. It is also possible. It is a cool faculty. I still learn every day. So many books, so many interesting facts. So if you feel intrigued by this lecture, dive into it, ask questions, and just stay healthy. Because healthy people have a lot of wishes. Ill people have only one. Thanks for listening. If you have questions, we have Paul. He didn't exercise yet, so he has to run.
Thanks, Wolfgang. I have a friend that bought the mat.
Okay.
And she was sleeping on it. Good or bad?
Not necessary. Yeah, it is bad for her back.
Okay, so
because she loses her sleeping comfort normally by the normal mattress, and it can be also bad for the coils inside when the surface is very, very smooth.
Okay, good, because she hurt her back.
Yeah.
Then her back was feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
Then she slept on the mat again.
Uh-huh.
And woke up in severe pain and hasn't gone on it since.
Yeah. Yeah, because for those who don't know how these systems work, but you have a timer in these systems, usually from 1 to 60 minutes, where you pre-adjust your duration of the application and also other properties like the intensity and the frequency range, which you usually get a protocol how to do this from us. And what happens is when you adjust, when you set up the application and you press start, the timer counts backwards. And after at least maximum of 60 minutes, the system will shut down anyway. So even if she sleeps on it, she will not have a longer application than 60 minutes. And that's why, it makes no sense. Yeah, it is. Yes, the best way is really to set it up at a place where you can go, or where you just do it like a routine. Like to go to the bathroom and brush your teeth, and you just do it. And like I said, because of the resonance phenomenon which we can create, it makes no sense to use it longer than the whole body mat than 24 minutes. And then it kicks in for 6 hours anyway. So more questions?
Yeah. Wolfgang,
yes.
You have mentioned that people who have the insomnia, they felt asleep after 5-6 minutes, right?
Yeah, some of them,
Most
yeah.
of it. My
Yeah.
case is not that. Should I change the intensity, or what could be
I don't know what are you using right now?
just the PEMF?
Yeah, what
The
protocol?
Omnium one.
And which protocol? Which intensity?
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, that means I have to check the
we have
intensity.
a-
Probably should I?
We have a special on the Omnium One. We have these fast start programs
Right.
on the left side where it says sleep.
Yes.
And when you click on this and you lie on the body mat, then it will automatically run a program which usually
Right.
fits this or provides the parameter for insomnia. In general, it's very crucial for insomnia that you run with very low intensities but a very long duration. So this is the correct protocol. And with acute things, you run usually with high intensities and shorter duration. In your case, I would really try it with intensity 10, which is the lowest, and try it with 24 minutes. This is the beginning parameters which I would recommend for you. But like I said, I don't know how you did use it right now, but try this. And by the way, if you have the chance to do the brainwave entrainment,
At the same time.
yes,
Both of them
yes,
together,
yes,
right.
you put it,
Yeah.
you go on it in the evening with the organ clock night, and you put it on the green light. And then I give you a 95%
Green?
guarantee that you fall asleep. Yes,
I
green.
see. Oh, all right.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you will probably not see the green light after 10 minutes anymore.
I see. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, we come over then. We do the east wing first, and then we come to the west wing.
I just want to know if you put the manual, if you do it manual for, like, I can't remember what the preset one is for sleep. Is it 20 minutes for at 10 or something? What's
Yeah,
it? 25 minutes at 10. So if you do a manual set for that, is it the same as just?
Yes, you can. Yeah. The fast start programs is nothing else than we put some settings in regards to intensity and duration of the application behind that button.
Got it.
Yeah. But for example, for regeneration and for activation, we have a graduating intensity, which you cannot do with a manual setting.
Okay.
So for example, activation, the intensity, the first 2 minutes is on 10, the next 2 minutes it automatically goes on 25, 50, and so on and so on.
Right.
And this you cannot do with a manual setting.
Okay.
But in his case, with the sleeping, I would stay on the lowest intensity over the entire period of the application anyway.
Okay, so if you put it on the manual and it's the same.
Just go a little bit closer.
Sorry, if you put it on the manual setting for the same setting as the sleep setting, but
Yeah.
and it's the morning,
Yeah.
you've got the morning organ clock.
That's not good, because the sleep setting goes automatically on the night organ clock.
Okay, and I don't mean the preset. Let's say you do a manual for
Yes.
like 24 minutes at
Yes.
10 or whatever
Yes.
the sleep setting, and it's morning.
Yeah.
Will that?
No, it will
emit-
not be so good, because in the morning the carrier frequency which is delivered by the applicator is higher, which would lead to an activation, which you don't like when you want to sleep.
Oh no, that's what I mean. So like if I put that set manual in the morning, it's not going to be the same thing. as
No,
if
it's
I did
not.
sleep.
No,
Got it.
definitely
That's what
not.
I was-
Okay, now
Thank
I got
you.
it. Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
just a quick
yeah.
one. What's the youngest age somebody can go on the mat? Like I have a son who's 6 and he has.
As soon as the baby is out, you can
Okay.
put it on.
No, he loves it. I just.
No, really, yeah, it's
Okay.
really, because there is no restriction and you cannot harm with the system.
And would there be a maximum? Like, so I just put him on at night. We read books on it before bed. At
No,
10.
usually it's important when you put him on the whole body mat
Yeah.
that you put him with the head on the side
Yeah,
where the cable
okay.
is coming out,
Okay.
because the intensity is gradually increasing towards the bottom. But because children are smaller, they won't get a higher intensity anyway. and there is no restriction. They can even use the full intensity spectrum without any
No problem.
any harm. No, not
Okay.
at all. And what you said is very interesting. Children like it because children are the same like animals. They don't suffer from a placebo effect.
Yes.
So they have this ability to feel whether it's good or not.
He says, Mom, can we go on the mat now? He
Yeah,
likes it.
yeah.
Thanks, Wolfgang.
It's perfect, yeah. Thank you. So, ma'am.
I heard that you're not supposed to use it if you have an arrhythmia. And are there any other heart conditions that people should not be on the med?
For example, I cannot confirm this because even if you have arrhythmia, you can use PEMF. It's not a problem. You know, the only thing what is a legal contraindication if you have a pacemaker. So, but this is also not so 100% valid anymore because this goes back on the times until the year 2000 when the pacemakers were unipolar. Now they are bipolar, so they have a backup program in case of any electromagnetic intervention, which keeps it going. But it's still a relict. It's a legal contraindication. But arrhythmia is not a contraindication at all. You can use it at any time. It's no problem. Another contraindication is pregnancy. And
Why is that?
Legal. You know, I know a lot of happy magnetic field babies where the women, the mothers were using it during pregnancy with absolutely super results, having a wonderful time during pregnancy, no problems at all, and having healthy babies with a clean blood picture, everything, you know. So it's legal. It's just legal. And the third one, when we are with your question, which was very good, thank you, is epilepsy. But epilepsy is also a legal contraindication, just, you know, because of the probability. What happens if somebody suffering from epilepsy uses a PEMF device and faces a seizure during an application? Then we would be liable for proving that it was not the system.
Thank you.
Hi. If you have glaucoma, with the, I've only done it once or twice.
with a brainwave entrainment system, yeah.
Is it okay to have those lights on?
Yes, absolutely.
Because the first time that I did have a treatment, for 3 days my eye underneath it flickered, but it wasn't bad, like it didn't hurt, but it was flickering.
Yeah. This was the nerve was triggered probably. It's no problem to do that. What you could probably do, you can lower the intensity of the light a little bit. This is possible with the system. So it's not so important that you have a maximum output of the light because the brain will get this information anyway. So lower the intensity of the applied color, whatever you do, with the intensity button. This is both possible, iMRS and OmniBrain, up down to a intensity which you feel comfortable with. And make sure you close your eyes, yeah, because some people they even thought that they had to open their eyes during a brainwave entrainment. That's not necessary. But this is probably. It's a nerve flickering, and this is normally it's nothing to worry about. It's just maybe a little bit nervous or a little bit tensed whatsoever. I think this will go away with more applications to come.
Okay.
Are there different variations of your mats, or is just one kind?
There are two different systems. We have a more portable system. This is the Omnium 1. And there is the stationary system, the iMRS, which is also used in the medical fields. What's the good thing about both expose exactly the same properties. So the efficiency of both systems is exactly the same. Okay. The rest is a question of what you like more, whether you travel and want to take it with you, because then we have the more portable version, which is the Omnium 1, which comes with an Android tablet. So it's easier to carry, whereas the iMRS is a more stationary system, has a little bit of a thicker whole body applicator. So that's a question of taste.
So if something goes wrong with the mat in a sense of the cables or in connections, and
yeah,
if
we
I
have
notice it,
yeah.
then do I send it back to Germany?
No. We have our office in Oakville in Ontario.
Okay.
Yeah, we have our own office, Ellie is running our headquarters in Canada, so she would be the person to address it. We have a nationwide custom service. You have a 3 years warranty on our products, so there is no problem. It's all nationally organized.
First of all, thank you. I love my mat. I had a client who had a concussion, though, and I was unsure about the lights. Should you use those in the case of a concussion or not?
It will not create a problem, but it maybe will create discomfort. So I would try it, and if they cannot take it, just...
Okay, so just patient by patient. It's fine, though.
Yeah, it's very individual, you know. But the entrainment itself will not create a negative interference on the concussion.
Okay.
I don't see that.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Curious about Wolfie's Law. You have a video on the website where I forget exactly what it is, but you recommend not going over a certain intensity over the waist and so forth. And I'm just wondering what the reasoning behind that is. Like, I know we've had great results with people who have acute conditions, you know, whether further up, of course, like whether it's the throat or, and where we'll use the probe on full intensity 400.
Yes.
And there's
which we recommend on acute conditions anyway. So in general, the law says the more chronic, the lower the intensity, the more acute, the higher the intensity.
Right, so it's okay to use 400 intensity in above. It's just okay, because I just wasn't sure what the reason behind that was.
First of all, like I said, we cannot harm. So the only thing why we are a little bit cautious sometimes, especially with chronic conditions, because when you start with too high intensities with chronic conditions, you may ending up with a healing crisis, a so-called Herxheimer effect, which always comes with a worsening of the symptoms, which, if not understood right, would probably create fear for the user, because he or she thinks that the therapy does something harmful to her or to him, which is not the case. It's a so-called healing reaction, which means nothing else that a chronic situation towards healing will always go over an acute peak again.
Yes, we've experienced that as well. Quite a lot. Yeah, like somebody who has an injured
But that's the reason.
Because you get increased blood flow to the injured spot, which results in repair, regeneration, which can bring pain. So,
Wolfie's Law is more a guideline to safely start an application without knowing too much about it. Okay?
Yeah, you were talking, Wolfgang, about the importance of knowledge, getting educated about health, and that's true. Now, I believe, without a doubt, this technology is the most important technology on this planet today concerning our cellular optimization. Now, as you pointed out, when we reach the permeability point where we're fully functional at a cellular level, the toxins that are stored in our cells are pushed out of the cells.
Yeah.
Now, we're all toxic. Even if we use this technology, we still have toxins flowing in from our environment.
Oh, of course.
So I would tend to think it would be very important to be on a continuous detox protocol, a binder, to work with the modality to continue to groom the system.
That makes total sense.
So it's the whole rounded vision of what health actually is.
Yeah,
and this is
like we said, like food and everything else too, you know.
Right, right.
But it's actually the trigger which opens the process.
Exactly, and we need that, and it's vital. I mean, you could use far infrared. There's other ways of detoxing.
Yeah.
But that is not necessarily optimizing our cellular function.
Exactly.
And then within this, we are activating signals with optimized cells. The signals from our environment are also going to be received in a most optimal manner to turn on or improve our DNA.
Exactly.
And then everything actually, see, we talk about the benefits of pain relief, reversing cancer, these things do happen.
Be careful by saying this.
True. Hey, sorry, God, but we know this. We know this is a fact. So, however, my point here is that oh, Jesus, what was my point? I had a good point there. You really threw me off.
What was the point?
You threw me off my loop, man.
What was the point?
What? Yeah, well, the point is education, of course.
Yeah.
But what's happening on a much deeper level that I don't think we've touched on is the long-term underlying benefit of having continuous exposure to this wonderful technology.
Yeah, that's why I said, consistency is the key. It's
Well, we focus on our current boo-boos, our wows. We want to get over this hump. But I'll tell you something. If you're extending the telomeres and you are optimizing your DNA function protocols, turning on making the stuff work right. Well, we are doing something that is far beyond the scope, I think, of what we're realizing. This is going to, in one sense, really revolutionize what we're doing to ourselves as human beings. But then I see this as the first line of defense to survive in a world where everything is bent against us. And I want to thank you for your work in doing this. And truly, Wolfgang, I believe the day is coming, my friend, when you should receive a Nobel Prize for pursuing this over humanity. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
But actually, thank you. But I would not even need this prize, believe me. Because for me, actually, why I'm still doing this is because of the feedback from the people who are using this. Mm-hmm. Because where in the world do you have a business where people come to you and being thankful for what you're doing? This is such a gift, and that doesn't value a Nobel Prize, So this is much more valuable for me, and that keeps me going. But thank you very much.
Do we have time for one more?
Yeah, of course. The train to Switzerland leaves about 11, I think.
I understand it's certified by Health Canada, and that's the legal a part of why you can't say it cures cancer and that sort of thing.
Yes, we have a certain intent of use which we can claim based on the certification we have, and that's what we do.
Okay, and so what does Health Canada say it's good for, or it should be used for?
Relieves aches and pains. What else we have? Increasing blood circulation. That's it.
So that's what they've recognized it as doing? Okay. Yes. And then is there a tax write-off available for a medical device?
Wait, Elliot knows this, or?
Yes and no.
Yes and no, because I don't know about your province here, but I think it's the same on the federal level. You can only write off so much in relation to your income, so there's always a limited amount that's important.
So it is possible, but it's the amount is in relation to your income. This is more or less what she told me.
So you can still write it off somewhat.
And you need a prescription from your doctor in order to do that. And under the Canada Revenue Agency code, it falls under bioelectric therapy. Another way to use it and benefit from tax write-up is by becoming a representative or consultant with our company, and then you can write up the product and the associated expenses that you will have to do your business. Because now you own your business.
Oh, okay.
Like 2 ways.
I see. Okay.
There's always a way to write off taxes.
Lots of loopholes. Well, I appreciate that. And I see that it seems like a lot of people in the room are already owners of it and users of it?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. I happen to use the mat at a wellness center in Gibson's.
You probably belong to the minority this evening.
I don't actually own
You
one
belong
yet.
to the opposition. That's why you sit on the left, in the left wing. Yes.
Can you put the spot on your head if you have really bad?
Yes. Don't forget to turn it on.
It's on.
Yeah. No problem. Yeah. Actually, we do that also. What's good when you put the spot, put one coil on the left, one on the right. Because then you create a Helmholtz effect, which gives you a very homogeneous field right in the middle. No joke, really. Yeah, it's absolutely good to do. Any more question? One more for free, the rest is...
It's more of a comment than a question.
Yeah, please.
I really wanted to deeply express my gratitude to you for what you have created and the way you create it and what you bring forward and your dedication. And for me, when people ask me how often do I have to lie on this mat, that was my question at the beginning, is how often do I have to lie on it?
Yeah.
Now it's how often do I allow myself to treat myself, to honor my body, to get into a state of well-being and relaxation and healing. And that, to me, for me, was not possible without this technology. So I thank you for that. Thank you.
And I thank you for your appreciation to what you are doing, because this is actually the key to put it into your daily routine. And you know, this is what I was talking almost 2 hours, you know. It's not about efforts, it's about appreciation to what you're doing, and then it's so easy to do this, you know, like you said. It's a must if you want to be good to yourself. Yeah? This is more or less what you said, and then you appreciate it, and then it's easy to doing. Thank you very much. Thank you.
He'll be on that computer for hours, and he gets off it, and he's like this. He's all rattled, and he's got OCD, and he's like, I gotta get on the mat. I gotta get on the mat. He runs downstairs and he gets on the mat he likes to do 16 minutes, and as soon as he gets off that mat, he's calm, he's relaxed, he's balanced, he's grounded, and he always says, I feel so great, Mom. He says, I don't know what I'd do without that mat. He says, I wouldn't be able to play Minecraft anymore. And it's amazing the transformation from getting off before and after the mat session.
But this is actually the way how we need to learn to live. So if we do something not so good, we immediately have to counteract. And then the body is immediately responding to it, and then it's back in balance, and it's good. Life is about balance. It's not about too much of this, too much of that. It's about a little bit of everything with the highest quality. This is my personal protocol for life. Ma'am.
Excuse me, could you tell me, can the mask trigger a migraine?
We are working on this. Yeah, we are coming out with some cool stuff probably towards the end of the year. That's the plan. For all the representatives, we meet tomorrow. I will... Yeah. Yeah, for tomorrow we have a representative meeting from 10 to 2 for all the ambassadors who already joined the Swiss Bionic family. I will be here for you. I have some good news in my backpack, and we'll share that with you.
Everyone is welcome, for sure.
Yeah, it's tomorrow start at 10 till 2 o'clock, and we do all the things which we couldn't exchange because we didn't see each other for about 1 year, I think, right? Yeah. Okay. It's here downstairs, yeah.
Yes, the meeting starts tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock downstairs. The door is just around the side. And I'll have some nibblies, but it's just from 10 till 2. So come nicely fed. There'll be some coffee, some tea, croissants, cookies, stuff like that. Some
I'm coming.
Fruit, vegetables, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, have a good night. Again, thanks for coming. For all the people, see each other tomorrow, and the rest, have a wonderful weekend.